Hi, Margaret. Thanks for splitting your questions. I appreciate that. What I'm going to do though is I've just downloaded a copy of your site, and I'll just go through each of the questions one at a time. But I'll do it all in the same video, just so we can sort of cover everything off. And I thought what I'd do is I just sort of explain the fading and some of the stuff real quickly as well. And what we have here, let's say we have a page open. This is the contact page, for example. Here's our footer class right here, and here's what we've done is we've said in our section animations. Okay, so in our site styles we have section animations. So the footer section down here, we've said, well, let's make the opacity of the footer section about a 0.2 or you know, nearly faded out. Right, 1.0 is fully opaque. 0.2 is almost completely translucent. All right, and then when the footer we add the class of active, the opacity becomes solid. It becomes a solid footer. So basically, what happens when you're scrolling up and down the page, boom, there it fades in like so. But what happens is sometimes it depends on the size of the page as well. The shorter pages, it's going to have the active class added, because what we've basically said, the footer active class, this one right here, at a certain point in time where the browser, at a certain scroll point, we want that class to be added so the footer scrolls in. So basically, once the bottom of the footer here has cleared the bottom of your viewport window or your browser window, it should be the class is added and it becomes fully opaque. Of course, that depends on different browser sizes and things like that when you're dealing with these sort of translucent bits and pieces. But it's usually the same on all pages. But here's the trick: if you want it to be fully opaque all the time, you just change this number to 1.0, just like that. So it doesn't matter what this class does; it's not going to change the opacity. Okay, or you can just put 1. That would be the same thing. Right, now where the index page is a little bit different is we have this header animations for the index page, right? And we've modified some of the different styles in here, but I don't think we've modified the footer. No, we haven't. Just the logo and whatnot. So if you're seeing something a little bit different on one page than the other, it's just the amount of time or the length of the page. The index page is a little bit longer, so the footer may fade in just slightly after you would see it happen in the contact page, because the contact page is shorter. By the time the user gets down there, it's probably already applied the footer class of active right here. So it's basically based, like I said, it's kind of based on where the user is in the page. So longer pages, it'll wait the full, 1 second. I think what we're seeing here, 1 second before the transition is applied. On shorter pages, like the contact page, where there's basically just a map and a form, by the time the user gets down to reading this part here, the footer has already started to appear, so that class has already been added. But in the index page, you can scroll for quite a bit further before the footer comes into view. So that's why it sort of has that appearance of, hey, this is fading in really cool, right? So longer pages, it may be more noticeable. Shorter pages, it might not be quite so noticeable, and that's only because of the fact that on shorter pages, the footer is probably already in. If you're reading if you're reading the content in the middle of the page, the footer down here, as you can see in my video, that has already come into view, and that's when the initial part of the animation starts, right? And basically, we want it to be fully in view. Of course, once the bottom has, once this part here has come up past the bottom of your web browser, it has to be fully in view, right? But it's going to start at this point here, and then it's just going to fade right in after that. So I think your question was, so on the comparing the index page and the contact, the footer is present on the first and fades on the second. Right, the code is identical on the 2 pages in Dreamweaver, but I look in the Firebug, there are differences. Let me just compare that. All right, so here's our home page here. I'm just going to shrink it down actually, so we can get it into the full view here of the video window and see what difference that makes here. Right, see the size of the bar here, and if I go back to my contact page, the size of the scroll bar here is just about, well, a third, and this one here is a lot shorter because there's a lot more room to scroll. So let's just go down to the bottom. We'll read here, and we'll get here, and then boom, it fades in right down there. Okay, and the content above is designed to sort of slightly fade out as it goes off the top of the page, but in the contact we get here and here, and well, it's still fading in right there. So the only thing I may wonder is, on each individual page, I'll open up the catalog page here as an example, you could actually, if you remove that section animations, that would completely change the fade in, fade out effects. So I would say just make sure that each of the pages has the section animation style sheet in it. It goes right into this animations area right here. But it needs this link to the section animations in order to have that fade in, fade out effect of the footer. And if you don't want to use the section animations across the entire site, because I think maybe you had a question earlier, you said you didn't want the fade in or fade out effect for the body, so maybe you remove that style sheet. But here's all you have to do. Go to your section animations then, go right down here to the footer part, grab all this code right here, copy and paste it into the bottom of your styles.css. Right down here at the very bottom, right after this media thing here, just copy and paste the footer. And then what you do is just the footer will have the fade in and fade out, and you don't need the section animations. So it probably took me about 5 minutes to figure that one out. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, so for the mobile appearance of your site, in the styles.css right down here at the bottom, there are, as you see this media query here, right? This is where we put different styles to target mobile devices, and basically here it is right here, mobile styles, start, and you can target different things. So as the page resizes, we're using these media queries. Basically it says anything up to and including 992 pixels, then use these styles, right? And I think that's probably, what else do we got up here? That's the only ones we've got, I think. Yep. Make sure I don't have anything else hiding in there. Nope. So yeah, right down at the bottom of the styles.css, we have these overriding styles all in here, specifically for mobile devices, right? And then of course we have another one that says anything up to, max means up to and including this number, right? So anything up to and including 768, you would do blankety blank blank, right? So this is where the mobile styles are. However, it depends on what you're trying to do. You can retoggle, rejig things, and it always depends on where the site's at. I'm not sure if you have it posted up yet or not. If you do, I can take a look and give you some further advice on that. But I'm also going to send you a link to the Bootstrap website for the responsive utilities. Now here's where you can get some good information. If you just type in Bootstrap to Google, the first one that comes up, the getbootstrap.com, click there and then go to the CSS tab. And there is a responsive utilities here. First of all, there's the grid system. This is a good one to know so you can learn about the different, for example, media queries right here, right? If you're looking to target certain screen sizes, you can do that in CSS, so that's a good thing to know. Mobile and desktop, right? Here's some different examples of how to change column styles so you can have it display a different number of columns on different devices. But more importantly, responsive utilities right down here. Click on that, and here are some different classes you can add to basically turn things off and on for mobile devices, right? So if you want to have things display or not display, you can use these classes here to have them display for different devices. So that's sort of just an overview. This is one of the things with Bootstrap. We've got this grid system. There's a lot of information in here about how to use media queries or what they are, and then how to use the classes and column widths and sort of things like that. Most of it we've set up to say that, you know, we've just kind of kept it general and in the pages, and we said if here's how we do a basic column structure. I'll just pull this down to the page here. We use the column small for. So basically what we're doing is we're saying small is for a tablet and portrait view. So we're saying keep everything from a tablet and portrait view the same for portrait view, landscape, and desktop, but anything less than a small, then it's going to use the default mobile option, which is just full screen or a 12 column. So if we've only specified column small 4, it's going to affect tablet and portrait, tablet and landscape and desktop. Anything other than that's just going to be a what's called basically a full screen. So it's going to go to a 1 column as opposed to a 3 or a 4 column. Okay, so let's take a look at getting rid of this box here, and it's actually, I think, just the div of form 2 that we want to get rid of. But let's take a look here. Yep, that's exactly it. See this div class of form 2? So I just click on the word form in form 2, hit div form 2 like so, and then I would do the delete, and then you'll still have the column in there, so it it doesn't collapse or have the map collapse, right? And if you wanted to have the map go full screen, then what I would say, then I would get rid of this, what's left over, this div class of column small 4 and this one closing div. And I go up top here, and where it says div class column small 8, change that to a 12, like so. And then that'll put the map so that it goes to the full width of the container up top.